This interview is brought to you in association with Rabobank.
In the heart of central suburban Auckland, one of New Zealand's largest secondary schools has spent the past 80 years quietly teaching agriculture and horticulture students on an 8-hectare model farm owned by ASB Bank. Recently, the bank and the school have recommitted to another 80 years of partnership. And with help from a team of agri-food sector backers, they're making bold plans to modernise the farm, introduce more students than ever to careers in the agri-food sector. With me to discuss the farm and the future is the chairman of the advisory group, Mark Heer. Mark, welcome.
Hello, Roger. It's great to be with you today.
Yeah. Mark, who knew there was a farm in the middle of Auckland? What's the history?
Well, the history dates back to 1932 when it was actually the Auckland Horticultural Society was working with Mount Albert Grammar School around developing a horticultural program, and at the time a block of land next to the school became available for purchase, and it was agreed that the trustees of the Auckland Savings Bank would purchase that block of land and lease it to MAGS. And since then, the relationship between MAGS and ASB and that piece of land has been strong and committed to the agricultural, horticultural education.
And ASB made that decision a few years ago now to recommit to that relationship, which is in itself a fairly incredible thing by dint of the value of that piece of land now, perhaps compared to the 1930s. A very big commitment from a corporate to a very important sector for New Zealand.
I think the nature of the history of how the purchase of the land and the relationship with the school really drove the decision to recommit. It was in 2012 for a further period of 99 years at a peppercorn lease. So hopefully a really good sign of good corporate and community responsibility from the ASB and recognition of that long-held relationship with the school.
So it's 8 hectares, more or less. What happens there now?
Well, at the moment, an agriculture and horticultural program at NCA level is run on the property. It'd be fair to say that the improvements are more reflective of farming practices in the early part of the 1930s, 1940s, 1950s, when the farm was first established after the purchase by ASB. But to all intents and purposes, at the moment, say that horticulture and agricultural program is running, and today, for this year, 160 students are actively involved at NCA level.
Okay, so is it dairy, sheep, some horticulture? What in terms of the husbandry that's going on the farm?
Well, there is, I believe, 8 cows that are milked during the season through a 2-bale walk-through cowshed, which is really a great piece of history. Classic. In relation to the dairy industry.
Yeah.
But there is daily milking of cows. There's a wool shed, and the sheep are shorn from time to time, often to the entertainment of visitors to the farm, typically other school children, primary school children, groups from overseas. But also as part of the curriculum activity, there's a small orchard block and vegetable area with raised beds. And, all of those are typical day-to-day activities required of running a dairy, a sheep, horticultural vegetable block are carried out by the students as part of the practical aspect of the curriculum.
And in good news for the sector, which needs qualified and skilled people in the business, there's actually a queue now of kids wanting to be involved in this. This is part of the drive to get things going a little bit more on the farm. Is that those 160 kids? There's more kids who want to do this, right?
Look, for sure. MAGS has a roll of children approaching 3,000. Second largest school in New Zealand. There's more students than the 160 who would like to take part in the agricultural and horticultural programs, but the 160 is a cap in terms of the facilities available. Not so much the farm, more around the classrooms. We really want to bring to the farm and to the students of MAGS and the wider community of Auckland a global centre of excellence which demonstrates all aspects of that agri-food value chain.
Now, there's 160-odd students from Mount Albert Grammar School taking part in active learning on the farm. There's a lot more visitors, though. Is there an opportunity here? I mean, how many people do you think this farm could touch? There's well over 1 million people who live, well, within maybe half an hour's drive from it. How big could this be in terms of its ability to really create a space which is a little bit of country in the middle of town?
Yeah, well, the farm is 6.7 kilometres from Auckland CBD, so another key aspect to this is the uniqueness of that piece of land being so close to the heart of New Zealand's largest urban area, and I think that combined with the relationship with the school really creates a unique asset for New Zealand and quite a unique location. But we certainly want to get the balance between the quality of the property and the story that it tells, so that's that global centre of excellence, but also open it up and make sure that we have a much larger number of people that facility touches. So, at the moment, if making a visit to the farm, you'd often come across students from MAGs undertaking one of their lessons in the NCA. You'll also commonly see other schools visiting that farm for a day trip, primary schools, secondary schools. There may be a school from overseas who are travelling to New Zealand. They'll be out there. There'll be members of the community. So at the moment, on a typical day, a lot of different people from different organisations, different parts of the community will be touching and visiting that farm. And what we want to do is to provide the facilities to really lift that number so that the true potential of that farm and the story that it can tell and the relationships and that it can build is extended beyond the numbers that currently touch it. So if we have a number, we often talk about 25,000 people a year.
Now, and that at a time when there's a lot in the rural sector who would say that townies are losing touch with the country. And there might also be some who are saying that country's a bit losing touch with town. So what role for the farm with that location in the middle of our biggest city to become, I guess, a place for that conversation to happen?
Yes, look, I think we talk about creating a environment, a facility, a point of connection for those rural and urban communities where we can look to create a common understanding. So as much as it is about sharing the agri-food story with the urban population, it's also bringing the rural community into an urban population and helping them connect and gain an understanding of, I suppose, the questions that the urban population have. So, look, it is about bringing different communities together and creating a focal point, but once again, that unique location in the heart of New Zealand's largest city is, I think, really critical to the success of that.
So next steps, things like this don't happen cheap. I imagine there's some fundraising underway.
Yes, look, we've been working on this project now for sort of 3 to 4 years and have got to the stage where we have the necessary consents in place to move to the physical redevelopment part of the project, which involves upgrading of the physical assets on the farm itself, as well as the development of an experience centre, which is a purpose-built building that will be split between learning facilities for the school children, so by way of classrooms, science labs, horticultural work areas, and also the experience aspect, milking of cows, the shearing of sheep.
And how far away is this likely to be?
We with consents now in place, we start the funding program, so that involves funding of around about $14 million that we need to raise.
Yep.
Part of that is also putting in place an endowment to ensure that the financial robustness of the centre and the farm is there for the school and for the administrators of that experience centre. And, really the momentum around that fundraising program will determine when physical work starts on the farm.
Fantastic.
But, from a advisory group perspective, from a funding group perspective, we see 12 to 18 month funding program in front of us, sort of, starting from today.
Fantastic. Mike, sounds ambitious. I'm glad you're doing it. Thanks for your time today. We've got to leave it there, but we'll keep in touch as things progress.
Thank you, Roger. It was great talking with you.
This interview was brought to you in association with Rabobank.